Now we are going to launch the GR Yaris in manual. Now it's time to launch the GR Yaris in automatic. Ah! I misshifted. Oh, it's a pretty violent head back. This feels quick. There are some absolutely massive changes for the facelifted GR Yaris. We have way more power and torque. We have a bunch of changes to the rest of the drivetrain too, including new all-wheel drive modes, a bigger, badder exhaust, apparently, and of course an 8-speed automatic transmission. Not to mention, this thing has had a bunch of upgrades both inside and out. It's seriously an almost entirely different car. They have done some mega changes to this thing, and today I'm going to tell you all about that. We are going to go comprehensive in depth for the new 2025 GR Yaris. We're going to check out all the exterior changes, all of the interior changes as well. Of course, we'll check out practicality. It is a hot hatch after all. It has to be a little bit practical. Then of course we will launch it, both this one here, the manual, and the auto, the 8-speed. See which one is faster. I'm also going to be driving this manual here on the road, but don't worry, I will be driving the 8-speed auto on track to let you know exactly how it performs and everything that's new with it. And of course, finally, we will end on our final thoughts. Should you buy a Toyota GR Yaris? It's very exciting. Let's get into it. Alrighty, let's start with the pricing. How much will one of these set you back? Well, if you were looking for a bargain, I can't say that this is one of those. Prices are up, naturally, and by quite a significant margin. It's now $4,100 more expensive than before, starting at $55,490 for the GT spec. With a 6-speed manual, you spend $2,500 more, and you can get yourself the 8-speed auto, which is of course a new spec. Then there is the GTS, the full fatty, but fatty in a good way. This thing is pretty awesome. It comes with so many extra additions. You get a cooling package, which is essentially a sub-radiator for the radiator. Essentially makes this thing have better cooling, although there are some other changes we'll get to in a second. You get 18-inch forged alloy wheels with Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tires. And the biggest change is the addition of the Torsen limited slip differential, both front and rear. So yes, you do get a lot of inclusions, but you will be spending arguably a lot of money. That GTS, which now replaces the Rally E, or Rally as it was known before, but confusing name, that's $5,000 more. So $60,490. And all of this, by the way, is before on-road costs. So it is not cheap for what is a modified Yaris, but it definitely goes deeper than that. So let's start with the looks. Okay, let's talk about the way that this thing looks, because frankly, there are a lot of changes, like I've said. Everything really comes down to aerodynamics and modularity. So you now get a lower and wider grille up at the front with far more cooling as well. Now this is a manual, so this is blocked off here, but if you go for the auto, you actually get an automatic transmission cooler or fluid cooler. So that's one of the new mechanical cooling changes that they have made, particularly for the auto, of course. I must say, it is a super aggressive grille. It looks fantastic. You're gonna have to excuse me because this car has been used for a lot of driving today, and yeah, it's full of bugs. But up front, you will see the sub radiator, and that is in addition, of course, to the normal radiator, and it's branded with GR4 badging. It's really, really cool. It's just painted on there. It's just such a cool look, honestly. Also, a small thing, but you do notice it, is here. This grating here is now metal. It was plastic before, and owners were complaining that it would just crack and snap when you took this thing on gravel roads. So now it will simply bend. But like I said, the whole front end here is modular. It's actually 3 big pieces. So it's a lot easier to pull out and swap over if you do something to your front bumper, which you might, especially on rallying. Otherwise, you get the same nice and relatively bright LED headlights with a nice daytime running light. These things are actually straight off a normal Yaris, but otherwise the similarities kind of end there. It is a wide, mean machine, and it looks absolutely fantastic, I think. Interestingly, if you go for the GTS, you actually get an intercooler spray system. So much like people used to do in their Subarus, where they would have like a drip-fed little water bottle, which would help disperse water onto the intercooler to keep the car cool. Now you have a built-in spray system, which uses a 3.6 litre tank located in the back of this thing to spray onto the intercooler. You can't get that in Australia, at least on the GR Corolla. So that's kind of a cool little extra you get on the GTS. Let's check out the side. Coming to the side, you're going to see these 18-inch black alloy wheels. They are Enki wheels, but if you go for the GTS, they're forged alloys, and they also come with Dunlops on the GT, but Michelin's on the GTS, which are just a better tire. Their brakes here are absolutely massive too, which is always good to see on such a small car. Yeah, this thing thing does have a lot of stopping power. Interestingly, if you go for the GTS, you also get high performance suspension, but I'm yet to figure out exactly what that means. So if you know, let me know in the comment section below. You have your GR badging here. By the way, the Yaris has had revised suspension across the range. Again, I'm not entirely sure what it entails, but it drives very similar to me. You have your blacked out mirror caps here. You have your carbon roof that's covered with a fake carbon vinyl, which is hilarious, I think. You also have keyless entry and go. You would expect it at this price point, and a very, very fat derriere. This thing looks absolutely epic, especially in this two-door coupe style that the GR Yaris does get. I love the fact that we're getting cool hot hatches even here in 2025. So I'm really digging the looks of this thing. Let's check out the bum. Now, arguably the biggest change for the GR Yaris is at the back. It honestly looks entirely different to me. There's a good reason for that. And that is because apparently the professional rally drivers who drive GR Yarises were complaining that at nighttime, when you have a Yaris and a GR Yaris side by side, they look exactly the same. And that's because they, like the front, use the same rear tail lights. But now you get a very unique tail light. So you get this full light bar that runs across, still got that cool 3D effect to it as well. LED turn signals as well. That's always good to see. Also, interestingly, the third brake light is now here. They've moved it from up here, which might seem odd at first, almost kind of ugly, but there's a good reason for it. And that is because the spoiler up here is often changed by enthusiasts. And so it was really annoying to have to rewire it to get a third brake light in. So instead they put it here to meet regulations while people can go ham and take this off. By the way, this spoiler up here is now body matched as well. There is another big change too. So down the bottom, you still get dual exhaust tips, but they're actually bigger than they were before. This is one of the ways they were able to unlock more power, is by having a freer flowing exhaust. And just like up front, you actually get metal grilling here instead of the plastic cladding. So it makes it way more durable and less likely to break as well. Of course, you retain your GR Yaris badging and your GR4 badge there as well. But really from the back, it does look so different and so wide, squatty. I absolutely love it. And by the way, this is how the exhaust sounds. Let me know what you think. Now, if you're looking for boot space and practicality, the GR Yaris is, it's not for you. Oops, I didn't put this back on properly, my bad. Anyway, this cargo cover, quite flimsy. With the rear seats up, you only get 141 liters of boot space, which is tiny. It is absolutely abysmal. You might be able to get one large suitcase in there, although I really think you'll be stretching. Really, the back seats, you would only ever use them in a pinch. Certainly don't think if you had a family, you'd buy one of these, at least not for your daily. But as you'll see, even I can fit back there weirdly. Still, you want to drop them, and then you get way more space and way more practicality as well. Using this as a two-seater hot hatch is possibly better than using it as a four-seater. I'll just put it that way. By the way, if you're looking for storage space underneath the floor, you're not really going to find it. And that is actually, like I said, where you fill up your 3.6 litre intercooler spray tank. Alrighty, let's check out the interior. Sorry to interrupt, but we have some merch, very limited edition. This is our clickbait t-shirt. It says RIP insert car here, because we know you love to click on this, and also with a little CarSauce logo on the back. Very tasteful, very demure. These things are AS color. They feel oh so fantastic. And I'll be totally honest with you, we have spent quite literally thousands of dollars getting this right. For a very limited time, head to CarSauce store, put in your order. Once everyone has put in their order, we will finalize that and ship it to you. But yeah, this is pretty exciting. You're gonna be seeing a few more pieces of this, but who knows how long.
Honestly, we might never do this again, so just get it now.
And help support CarSauce so we can try and move away from OEM advertising. That'd be nice. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Alrighty, guys. Interior. Yeah, the doors I think are plastic. Anyway, interior now of the GR Yaris. I've got to be honest with you guys. This is a totally different and incredibly cool place to be. I'm honestly loving it. Versus before, it is actually far more practical. You see, the previous GR Yaris had a couple of, well, quite glaring issues. One, the mirror was too low, so it actually blocked a lot of the view. It's not a huge windscreen, so you actually couldn't see. So a lot of people would just have to raise it out of the way so they could see. You don't have to do that anymore. I'm happy to say, though visibility is still not great. It's a tiny car, what do you expect? The other thing is, even though these seats are the same, at least here in the GTS, or Rally as it was known before, they're a beautiful leather and like suede like Alcantara. You actually sit 25 millimeters lower than before. So you sit lower and it means you actually get better visibility anyway. And by the way, those changes for visibility, again, a huge pain point for previous owners, is actually here. You see, this whole center console, in fact, pretty much everything from here forward is just entirely different. You have what I think is one of the coolest setups in the industry right now. It's very reminiscent of like 90s Toyotas. Think like a Mark IV Toyota Supra, where you have everything aimed towards the driver, and it does feel incredibly special, and I genuinely mean that. So for example, yes, you get this 8-inch display. It's no longer a tablet that sits up on the dash. It's just this really good integrated display, wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. Yes, it's very small, but at least it's updated with the latest OS from Toyota, so it's actually quite snappy. It's relatively color accurate. It's a decent enough screen, especially for such a small car. You have your digi analog air conditioning controls here, which are so easy to use, frankly, perfect. One funny thing though is because 3 of these air vents are pointed towards the driver, it means that the driver is much cooler than the passenger, having sat in this seat as well today. You can angle it this way, but it's slightly blocked by this. So a very, very minor consideration, just a funny little quirk of this thing, as Douglas DeMuro would say. By the way, these seats and steering wheel are heated in this GTS spec, but at this price point, you'd kind of hope they are. You do have a USB-C port here, a 12-volt socky-wocky. But back to this, because it's just so cool. Honestly, I'm loving it. Also, up in front of you, you get this new digital display. You've seen it in a lot of Toyota products now. It's the same as in the GR Corolla. Even things like a Corolla Cross has this display. But frankly, it's a really good display in that it's very customizable. It's a bit finicky to use at first, but once you set it up, you're good to go. And you can see a bunch of different displays, including like a race display there too, which again is very cool. It's not all roses though. There are a couple of things that make me question my little head, and I do have a little, I've got a pretty big head actually, but a little brain. Okay, so what's not so good about the interior of the GR Yaris? Well, there's a couple of things. One, you don't get an armrest, which is actually quite annoying if I'm being totally honest with you. You do have a physical handbrake, which apparently is why they couldn't put in an armrest, but I don't buy that. They could have put it in this space here and had it come over. Unfortunately, you just get no armrest, which kind of sucks. You get a couple of cup holders here, which is fine and great and frankly dandy. But still, the fact that you just get this open storage area and you don't get an armrest kind of sucks, especially on longer journeys. This area here, now, yes, it is another little shelf, but if you put your phone there, I guarantee you, as soon as you accelerate, it flies out. There is no grip to this at all. It's just scratchy plastic. And so as a result, there really isn't anywhere to put your phone. Pretty much nowhere to put your phone. You can put it in the cup holders, but then you can't get a cup in there. It's a hot day today. Oh, I love water. You open up this glove box and you actually get quite a lot of space, so I guess that is good. By the way, another USB-C fast charger there. Door bins are an okay size. It's a tiny car, what do you expect? This, scratchy materials, but this is all nice and soft, like Alcantara, like suede. By the way, JBL sound system, shout out to you. You sound pretty good. Other things I love. The steering wheel, oh, feels great to hold in the hands. Love the GR badging. Right-hand side is where you'll find your adaptive cruise controls. And on the left-hand side, you will find your controls for the digital instrument cluster. Can't not talk about this. Feels so good, this mechanical shifter. We'll talk more about this when we take this thing for a drive on the road, but I really love this shifter. It feels absolutely fantastic, and frankly, Toyota do nail the feel of their manuals. And some other GR specific things. You have your GR4 controller here. That is your all-wheel drive system controller. Cool. I think that's the front. I really love the design of it. I think it's so cool. Oh, by the way, hazard lights, coolest hazard lights in the world, and your GR badge there. Oh, and how could I forget as well, you have a button here that says IC water spray. You can actually hear it turn on. That is your intercooler water spray. It's part of the extra cooling in the GTS to give you better performance, especially on track days. All right, I'm delaying the inevitable. Let's get in the back. So yes, this thing does have 2 seats in the back, and wish me luck. It's not the easiest to get in. Slide that forward, pull that forward. Now, bear in mind, I'm extremely tall at 5'11". Oh, it seems to be a 2-person job. I'm dedicated. Ow! That was genuine pain. So if the driver or passenger can compromise, then yes, you can fit back here weirdly okay. I'm 5'11". I have almost no leg room, especially if the driver wants to get into their favorite position. Toe room is actually okay. Headroom, barely existent, but it's still doable. Everything back here, it's all scratchy as you would kind of expect, but it's okay. It's okay. You also get a little storage area here as well, but don't expect anything more. I think adults in a pinch are gonna be fine, but anyone else, good luck to you. But thankfully, you don't need good luck when you buy your next car through CarSauce Buy. That's right, Google CarSauce Buy, you will not regret it. We have a dedicated team of car buyers who are out there to get you the absolute best price possible on any new car. We have thousands of dealers who we pit against each other to fight and get you the best price possible. Best of all, it is a totally free service for you because we actually charge the dealers a fee. That's right, it is a lose-lose for them and a win-win for you and me. So if that sounds good to you, and it definitely should, join our thousands of very happy Aussies at CarSauce Buy when you want to buy GR Yaris or any new car, asterisk. We don't do BYD at the moment, and that's a story for another day. All right. Now, I don't normally do a section just on the engine and drivetrain itself, but so much has changed under here that I need to. So let's start with the headline, which is this: the 1.6 litre 3-cylinder turbo petrol engine, apparently the world's most powerful production 3-cylinder. It now puts out 221 kilowatts of power, which is 21 kilowatt more than before, and 400 newton meters of torque. That's up 30 newton meters. They've done a range of things. Biggest thing though is cooling and the exhaust. The other thing is injectors as well. That has apparently given them all of this extra power. It's a lot, and actually it makes this match the Morizo edition of the GR Corolla. So if you're one of the limited edition Morizo owners, you might not love that fact. But of course, also new is the 8-speed torque converter automatic transmission. It apparently can shift within 300 milliseconds and has close ratios for the first few gears, and that extends out for the last few. So actually on a highway, it is easier to live with as well. The all-wheel drive modes have also changed. You now get 3, same as before, but they're different. So first of all, normal, it remains normal actually. 60% of power to the front, 40% of power to the rear. Then there is gravel. Now that replaces sport, and gravel will actually send 53% of power to the front wheels and 47% to the rear wheels to give it better traction on gravel roads or when you're rallying, because actually a lot of people do take their GR Yarises rallying, which is a pretty cool fact. And then there is track mode, which has changed from being 50-50 split, and now it is variable. So that is variable between 60-40 or 30-70. So it can send up to 70% of power to the rear wheels. But what you need to know is that sport mode, which is what 30-70 used to be, actually already sent most of the power to the front wheels. It's only under ideal conditions that you can get this thing to be rear wheel drive biased. Most of the time it is front wheel drive biased, and that rear end is prone to overheating. And as a result, this thing can actually go front wheel drive only if the rear is too hot. Interesting, there are ways to aftermarket cool the rear as well, but that's just something to keep in mind. Most people in their daily drives are not going to notice any of this. It's just something as a car nerd that you will pick up on. But yes, this thing is way more powerful than before. So I think it's time to see, how do these things launch? Alrighty guys, so now we are going to launch the GR Yaris in manual. And so to do so, we are going to put this thing into track mode, and then we're also going to put this thing into sport mode. Different tunes for different spoons, as they say. All right, we are going to have to rev it up to about 2,000 RPM and essentially drop the clutch. So here we go. Come on. Oh! Ah! I misshifted. Okay, we're gonna go up ahead, and then we're just gonna have to do that again. Alrighty, here we go. Get it to about 2.5. Let's go. Come on. Dead. And then it really picks up. Oh, ho, ho. That felt fast. Okay, so 0 to 100 in 6.76 seconds. All right, let's launch the Auto Yaris. Alrighty guys, now it's time to launch the GR Yaris in automatic. To do so, we have to put these traction into expert mode. We have to hold down the pedals here. Then we get launch ready, put our foot down, launch active, build up some boost. Here we go. Oh, it's a pretty violent head back. This feels quick. All right, that's 100. Let's see what we got. 0 to 100 in 5.99 seconds. Quite far off the 5.1 second claim. Alrighty, let's jump in the manual, back on the road. Alrighty guys, driving the manual GR Yaris. Now, like I said, we are not actually allowed to drive the automatic on-roads yet until it comes in the middle of the year. But don't worry, we will be driving that on track in just a moment. Let's talk about this though, because regardless of which one you get a, well, updated engine. So you still get the same 1.6 litre turbo petrol engine as before. It is a 3-cylinder, and apparently the fastest production, or most powerful production 3-cylinder ever. And yeah, this thing is really impressive because now it puts out more power, 221 kilowatt of power. So now it matches that of a GR Corolla, and you still get the same 400 newton meters of torque. And you could tell we downshift to third, put our foot down. yeah, this thing has a substantial amount of power, and it just does feel like its power to weight ratio is better than before. Now, this 6-speed manual, it's really interesting. As you are going to see with the automatic, I still think I prefer this 6-speed manual because it's not quite like an i30N automatic, but again, we'll come back to that. It is short throws, very, very notchy indeed. You also have IMT, or intelligent manual transmission, which just enables rev matching, which frankly I need because I suck at it. But you can confuse it if you do rev match too quickly. So that's something to keep in mind as well. As you can hear, yeah, this thing does sound very, very raspy indeed. I love the feel of this 3-cylinder. It is such a sweet engine. It has been, even in the previous GR Yaris where it didn't have quite as much power, it still feels absolutely fantastic. Now, in terms of handling, yeah, this thing does corner incredibly well. We're not actually in the GTS, we are simply in the GT. So that means we actually don't have mechanical differentials in this at front or rear. Instead, we have open diffs, but honestly, the way it handles is genuinely pretty incredible. It has an immensely short wheelbase, and that just enables it to have some of the best handling characteristics you are going to feel on a lot of hot hatches. Where it is let down slightly is it has a fixed damper rate, meaning there are no adaptive dampers. You simply get a single fixed damper. I think it's got a good tune overall, but in stock form, it certainly is not a track weapon as you would find on like an i30N, which to be fair could be described as too stiff, but at least you can change the variability of that stiffness. Still, steering is incredibly heavy. It does feel nice in the hands, but when I say incredibly heavy, I mean incredibly heavy. The one thing I am really noticing though when driving any of the GR range except for the Supra is that there is a crap ton of wind noise and road noise and tire noise. It is a very noisy cabin, and it does mean you have to have louder than you would expect conversations in here, which I guess isn't the greatest thing in the world. But when you are going for something like this, which is a pretty hardcore rally-inspired hot hatch, well, I guess you do have to make compromises somewhere. But at this price point, do you want to make that compromise? You can let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. So overall, this manual, especially, it feels really nice to drive. It is genuinely a joy, especially when you are taking it around the twisties as we have been today. But how does the automatic perform? Well, let's talk about that. Alrighty guys, we are driving here in the GR Yaris. In the auto, what is it like? Well, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's a little bit more dull versus the manual. You just get a little bit less engagement. If we put it into manual mode, we can row through the gears. And yes, you can have a bit of fun. It is an absolutely phenomenal transmission though, there is no doubt about it, in the sense that this torque converter, it frankly is just easy to drive. You do still have close ratios at lower gears, so you could still row through it just like you would in a manual, but like I said, once you're on the highway, I don't know, it's a bit more sedate, a bit better for everyday driving. But on the track, it does just mean, you know, maybe a little bit of boringness, if you want to call it that. But it is still a hilarious amount of fun. It does shift very, very quickly, not quite i30N levels of quick, and you get a bit of a kick on upshift as well when you are really stuck into the gears, though that is all artificial. It's all just doing it to have a bit of fun. Like I said, is it as crazy, as stupid as the 8-speed dual clutch you'll find in the i30N? No, but this does feel just extremely grown up. And by the way, the reason that we are driving it on a track, we aren't just taking it on the road yet, is because these are still pre-productions. They're not actually landed in Australia yet for road, so we're not legally allowed to. The other thing I've noticed, by the way, is the temperatures are all staying really good. In fact, relatively low, and these have been going round by round on the track. So yeah, I think it's doing a better job at cooling than it has before. These things were known to overheat in a lot of different areas, particularly with that all-wheel drive system, like I said. But I can see all the temperatures here and they're all looking really, really good. So with that, let's get to our final thoughts. Alrighty guys, final thoughts on the 2025 Toyota GR Yaris. It's currently 35 degrees and I'm about to cook where I'm standing right now. So let's get through this quick. GR Yaris, it is frankly absolutely fantastic. Like seriously, so good. It's just so fast, so powerful. That 3-cylinder, yeah, it's a 3-cylinder, but look straight past that because it is so much fun to drive. I don't think it is the most competent hot hatch around corners, things like that. An i30N will frankly go around a corner better than this, even with its dual Torsen limited slip differentials, but that doesn't matter because the smiles that it puts on your face is fantastic. It is certainly not cheap though, but if you buy one of these, you will almost immediately understand why this thing is so good. By the way, big ups as well to the interior changes, love those. And interestingly, after driving both this and the auto, I would still go for the manual. The manual in this just feels so good. The auto feels a little bit more sedate, certainly easier to drive, but it isn't like the dual clutch that you'll find in the i30N as well. So that's something to keep in mind. Me personally, manual all the way. Though if I was commuting with this every single day, it was my only car, perhaps the auto is a good choice. Let me know what you guys think though of the 2025 Toyota GR Yaris. And of course, if you want to buy one of these for the best price possible, just Google CarSauce buy and my team will take care of you. Ciao for now.